everyone, it's the Reading Aardvark. I'm coming at you for my February wrap-up. Now, we've got to talk. If you've seen my January one, you know that I read 13 books. Well, this month, completely shot. I mean, I don't have a goal for myself to read each month, but I was definitely in a reading slump. For February, I read 3 books. No audiobooks, just 3 physical books. And I thought it would start out good. I started out, I mean, all 3 of the books I read were high-rated books. I just got into a reading slump towards the middle of February. I read 2 books, and then I started reading the 3rd book, and I don't know what happened. So, like I said, 3 books to some of you might be a lot. To my mom, it is a lot. She reads like 2 to 3 books a month in the first place. For me, though, I definitely read more than that. But I have more time to read. So, a little disappointed in myself for February. But we're going to go strong in March. We're going to hit it. I've got a good lineup of books ready to go for March, and I'm ready to hit. So, the first book that I did pick up in February was Cinder. This is by Marissa Meyer, and is a retelling of Cinderella, which I love myself a good Cinderella trope. That's what I like to call it. It's the girl who is a peasant. I was about to say peasant, or she's in a poor society, or she's the underdog, and Mr. Prince comes along and sweeps her off her feet. It's okay to like tropes, right? Now, I do like a little bit of twist on it every now and then, but sometimes when I'm in a reading slump, I just like it. So, this basically is a story about an android. Basically, human and androids are now androids help. Sorry, that was not a good description at all, but they're all in New Beijing, which is it's basically a sci-fi but kind of dystopian world that they live in now, because it's nothing like the world we knew. In New Beijing, there are princes and kings, and there is, though, a disease that is going around killing people, and basically androids really can't, they're being tested on because they're not seen as people, or cyborgs. Yeah, I don't think it's androids, because you can't test on androids. It's cyborg, which Cinder is a cyborg. She had a bad accident where her leg and her hand are now mechanical, and part of her brain interfaces, and basically she was adopted by this man, and the man died real soon after adopting her. So her 2 stepsisters and her mom stepmom that she lives with, one of her stepsisters and her stepmom do not like her, but the other stepsister does like her. She basically is the income for the family. She goes to the market and fixes androids, and the prince comes to her wanting her to fix one of his androids, which then basically stuff happens. She is drafted by her stepmom into the cyborg testing facility. She is sent there after yeah, I won't say why she gets drafted into the cyborg. I'm trying to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but when she gets drafted, she goes to the palace, and some things happen, some things come to light, and Cinder now has a lot going on in her life other than being a cyborg. And I really did like it. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. Today is the ums. I really did like the story. Just so you guys know, I am reading off of this a little bit. I did like the story, but I figured out most of the plot. I figured out the big plot twist not even halfway through the book. Like, ooh, I am sorry that shook. This plot twist, I think most people can figure it out. It kind of leads to it, unless, like, I'm thinking maybe this book, I am in the older range of YA in age-wise. So when I pick up some of these books like this, like, I like the story, but I could definitely tell it was for a younger YA generation. Not me, not at my age. So if I would have read this when I was younger, I probably would have loved the heck out of this. But I do think, with the prince, I think we could have gone deeper with him. I think we could have known his story a little bit better. We could have gotten to more depth, learned more about him. I know this book is about Cinder, but I would have liked to know a little bit more about the prince. But there is a doctor in this book, and I really did like him. I think he made the story, he's what moved the story along, I feel like. Without him, the story wouldn't have happened. I did give this a 3.5 stars, but on Goodreads, I did bump it to 3 stars, or I might have done 4 stars. I don't know what I did on Goodreads. So, I don't want to give it a full 5 star or 4 stars because I figured out the plot twist. There was another plot twist that I wasn't seeing that happened, and so that is why it got a half. But also at the same time, I really did figure out that plot twist real easily and real fast. So I am gonna pick up Scarlet, which is the next one in the series. I am a little mad that it's not about Cinder. From my understandings, she is still in the book, but it's not from her perspective. It's a Red Riding Hood retelling, which I never was really into, so I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I will pick it up. I will try it out. So, okay, maybe this might have what put me in the reading slump, but the next book that I read totally was a 5-star read for me. I am in a book club that is by Book Gizmo. She makes amazing book sleeves. And so the next book was from her book club, which is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is a YA fantasy, and I freaking love this book. So we follow around Elizabeth, who was raised in the Great Libraries. So she was basically dropped off at their doorstep and left there, which the libraries normally take in orphans, but not until they are much older. And so Elizabeth has grown up in the libraries, and let me tell you guys, their grimoires, which are books, their spell books, they talk. They have personalities. So I am freaking in love with that storyline. But basically, she's on her way to try and be a warden who protects and defends against people who defend the Great Libraries against bad wizards, but also against grimoires that have gone bad. So basically, like, if you rip a page, you spill something, a grimoire can turn into a monster that can kill people. And so she wants to be one of those. She wants to be a warden. And then something happens that she gets accused of, and a magician, I don't know what they call them, wizards, does it say? No, they call them sorcerers, okay. Couldn't remember exactly what they called him, but a sorcerer, Nathaniel, which she's already met, comes to take her away after she's been accused of something, and basically her life is in danger the moment she leaves. And she basically has to fight that, but while fighting that, she realizes that she's grown up thinking magic was bad, and that it was something to fear, not to be messed with, and to be dampered. And through this whole entire story, that's part of her battle, is whether to trust magic, to not look at it as something bad and dangerous and scary. And so we get to see her struggle through that. There is a little bit of a love story in here, which I do. I always love a little sprinkling of love. So, but it's not the main thing. Basically, and excuse my language, but Elizabeth is a badass in this book. She is, basically not going to take no for answer. She knows she didn't do it, so she's going to fight it every step of the way. I will have to say it was a slow book for me at first, but then like the last 3/4 of the book, I devoured it. It was great. I loved it, and it turned out to be my 5-star and favorite book of the month. So definitely pick this one up if you love wizards, you love talking books, you love a badass female. Definitely pick this up, man. And then the last books, which all 3 of these I thought I would really love. I thought they were all going to be 5-star reads for me just because of the hype behind them. And so that's why I was super excited about February. I had other books planned too, but these were like the 3 that I was going to read first. And they were just going to get me hyped. And I love this author, and it wasn't this book. It was me. A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the 4th book in the A Court of Thorns and Rose series. I don't know how people say that, the Architac or something like that. They shorten it. And basically we follow Fairy around, basically she falls in love with somebody. And basically the whole entire series is about Fairy falling in love, but then doing what she wants for the person she loves, and then there's a big plot twist that no one sees coming. And I don't want to ruin it for some people because I know there are people out there that have not read it yet. So read it. Sarah J. Maas is great. They are considered YA fantasy, but there is some smut that happens in these books. Now, I've read smuttier books, but this is definitely an older YA book. Especially this one. Cover Innocent Ears. They freaking have sex in the air. They get it on in the air. Which I don't understand that. So that part I was like, oh, what? Excuse me. I love how it wrapped things up. It is I consider this a short story of basically just a continuation of what the aftermath is, because the 3rd book does end in a way that she could have stopped writing. She didn't have to continue with this. I'm glad she did. It wraps things up. It kind of tells us about the life, and then it introduces kind of the next way she's going with the series. She is going to continue it, but not with Fairy and her love interest. I don't want to say who the love interest is if you have not read it, because it would spoil it. Basically there was a war, and this is the aftermath, the cleanup, and Fairy is going through whether she should feel grateful for what happened and the life she has now, or if she's having that struggle, because Fairy used to be poor. They were barely making it by before everything happened, and now she has riches beyond imagine, and it's really hard for her to spend things, buy things, do things for herself and her family, when there are so many out there right now that are still being affected by the war that happened. And so she is fighting that. We see her and her love interest grow. We see how the other characters from the story grow with it in their struggles. And it kind of, honestly, this book left it open for her to write different spin-offs for each character in this book, or in the series. And I don't know if she is going to. She is definitely doing 2 of them that are in here, but I don't know if I'm going to pick it up. I might pick it up, I'm not going to pick it up right when it gets released kind of thing. Don't get me wrong, I loved it, and I want to read her new book that's coming out, but I also haven't read Throne of Glass by her, so I need to read that series. So definitely, I gave it a 3.5, just because there were some things in it that I was like, I know it's a fantasy book, but there are still some things that you're like, whoa, 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 no. And also, I don't think I'm going to keep this because I'm going to read the other ones, but I don't see myself rereading this book in particular. And that really, honestly, 4 stars to me means I'm going to pick it up and reread it again at some point, most likely, where 3 says I'm not going to reread it. That's why I gave it a 3.5, was because, like, I still love the book. I love the series, I love the wrap-up, but it kind of felt, don't come at me, Sarah J. Maas fans, because I'm also a fan, but it felt kind of fan fiction-y to me. Just because nothing really was happening in the book other than characters growing, and it felt like she wanted to put this in with the other book, but it wouldn't have fit. So don't come at me, people. I still love her. I'm still going to read everything, but it felt fan fiction-y compared to the other 3 books. So that is why it did not get a 5-star or a complete 4 stars from me. So another thing that I started, will be doing a year reading goal for 2020 video. Oh, excuse me. I will be doing one of those, and I haven't filmed it yet, so be on the lookout for that, but I know I am going to do it. So one of those goals was to start a reading journal, and I did start this month with the books. I did do it for February for all 3. I have started another book, so that's why there's a 4th one on there. But basically after each chapter, I'm kind of writing my feelings, or after a few chapters, if I don't want to stop, I'm writing my feelings about what's happening. But I also started with this month, I started with the next book that's going to be technically moved to my March TBR, because I barely started it in February, I started a characters list in it, so that I have like a bunch of different characters, like basically all the characters that I think are going to stick around, I'm putting on the sheet so that I'm able to go back and remember their names. I'm really bad. I have really bad short-term memory, and so this helps me go back and, you know, really tell people, recommend them, write reviews in a better way. So I didn't do it though for these 3 books. I just had thought about it for this 4th book that's in here, and so I might go back in these 3 books and kind of go back and write down all the characters, just so that I am remembering everybody that's in these books. But I really am liking this reading journal. It helps me go back. At the end, I do write kind of, when I'm completely done with the book, I write my final thoughts on the book so that I can formulate that into a review to put on my Goodreads, because it's one of my other goals. And but I also was able to put in writing like what my stars meant, so that I kind of knew what I wanted to make what. And so yeah, so if you don't like stats, but the stats is going to be real fast because it's 3 books. I'm going to go over my stats. I read a total of 3 books in the the YA, sci-fi, fantasy were the genres I read. I read 1,069 pages. My favorite book was The Sorcery of Thorns. I did not have a least favorite book. I loved them all. And basically all of these books came from they came from Book Outlet, which I think is wrong. I think I might have gotten Cinder I got it from Book Outlet, yeah. So all 3 of my books this month were from Book Outlet, which is a win-win. I didn't read any new books, or brand new books this month. I'm still gonna go back and define that, because like, just because I read it in a month doesn't mean I'm not buying new books. So I might like make a little page in here to do that, because it's one of my goals is to read more secondhand books than new books. So yep, that was the 3 right there, guys. Woohoo! Yay for me! Actually, yay for me that I at least accomplished 3 books. and at least one of them is a little bit thicker. I mean, so yeah, not the greatest reading month for me, guys, but I'm hitting March strong, and because when I'm filming this, it is March 2nd, so I'm hitting March strong. I will upload my TBR for March. I've got some great lineups on my March TBR, and I already started one, and I know I'm gonna fall in love with it. So, okay, guys, thank you guys for listening. If you have any, constructive criticism on how these videos go, comment down below, let me know. If you liked it, you can like it, subscribe, follow me. I do mainly monthly wrap-ups and TBRs and an unboxing of Valkrate. I'm hopefully going to be adding on a second book subscription so I can have more to open. But yeah, I will see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.